new study finds that Waymo robotaxis have fewer crashes than human drivers like me. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety conducted the study. It looked at data from 4 U.S. cities: Austin, Texas, Los Angeles, Phoenix, and that was Phoenix, Arizona, and San Francisco. The study says Waymo's rate of police reportable crash involvement was, in fact, 68% lower than human drivers. David Kidd is one of the study's authors, and he joins us now live. I am wondering about what that statistic really means, because AI is really outperforming humans here, right, in terms of safety. What key data did the study provide that perhaps we didn't know before?
Well, we've heard from Waymo in their own studies that they assert they're safer in terms of compared to human drivers. And so this is really one of the few independent efforts to look at publicly available data to see if they indeed are safer. And that the key is, they get in fewer crashes in the areas that they've deployed compared to human drivers.
Do you think that that's difficult for some people to accept? Because some people are still queasy about this. When you dive into the data, I mean, what is that? Is it reaction time is better? Is it more rational reactions? Because you're definitely taking any kind of human reaction right out of it.
What we're seeing is just that they're just involved in crashes less time or less often. And when you look at the crashes, what's really happening is they're being run into by other people. You have to remember they're on the same roads as people are. And so it seems like they're making fewer mistakes, but that does not mean that they're going to avoid everything on the road. We've seen public examples that gain a lot of news attention about going through big flooded roads or perhaps swerving around to get around a school bus, running over chains or locking up emergency scenes. So they're not perfect by any stretch, but compared to, on the whole, the human drivers in those cities where they're deployed in those urban areas, they get in fewer crashes.
And what implications do you think this kind of study should have for the development of autonomous driving in all kinds of scenarios, including things like trucks? And I note that you made the point that they're being crashed into. I almost feel as if, well, if all the cars had autonomous driving and all the trucks, would there be fewer accidents, period?
It's a great question. It's one that we can't answer with this study alone. We're looking at the limited deployments of these automated vehicles, and they're continuing to expand. But one of the things that we noted in our study is that the data infrastructure is just not there. The only reason we were able to look at Waymo is because they publicly report the number of miles that their vehicles travel. So we had data and information about crashes involving Zooks and involving Cruise, but there's no information about how many miles they went. So we couldn't compute a crash rate. And that's what really speaks to the safety. And it's something we have to monitor. As these vehicles go to new places, will that safety record hold up?
So interesting. And in fact, some of the examples that you gave before, we're showing right now an example in Atlanta, Georgia, where, 2 Waymo taxis were doing donuts in a cul-de-sac because they lost their way. And, a nuisance, maybe not necessarily unsafe. But then also in Atlanta, we had, a car, you see it there, a robotaxi, stuck in a flood. It kind of then put on its hazards, didn't really know what to do. In terms of the overall data, though, you're saying what we're looking at right now, that kind of confusion, they're anomalies, not necessarily something that you see all that often.
Well, it's hard to tell. That's the problem. We look at data that these companies are required to report to the Department of Transportation. It's just when they're physically involved in the crash. Early on, it was when they could have contributed to a crash, or maybe they bumped a curb or something like that. But it's gotten a little bit more conservative in the sense that it has to cause some damage. We don't really know anything about how often they're blocking up emergency scenes or running through emergency scenes, or they have these foul-ups where maybe the entire grid goes out and their connection goes out, they just stall in the middle of the road and block traffic. And so when you say, are these vehicles safe in terms of getting in crashes, our study, as well as some of the other studies that Waymo's done, they indicate that they are involved in crashes less often than human drivers. But there's a lot more that goes into whether or not they're safe participants in the roadway. And so hopefully this gives some momentum to better understanding whether or not they are allowing emergency vehicles to do what they need to do and not blocking up emergency responses, and they're not having these kind of edge case reactions where they're doing things that are completely mind-boggling, exactly as you say.
David, we don't have a lot of time left, but I have to ask you, have you been in a robo-taxi? And given you're a scientist and you did a deep dive on the data, are you very comfortable in them? You feel really safe?
I mean, it feels no different than driving or being driven in an Uber. How about that? Because right now it's just the ride hailing, but with a different driver. So, I take some comfort in that these vehicles are programmed not to speed. They're not going to be impaired. They won't be distracted. And so by definition, because of that, they should be vetted, right?
That is a very scientific answer, I would say. Just looking at the odds, like you said, there are so many things that you can take out of the equation. I've not been in one yet, but I am looking forward to it just to see what the experience is like. David Kidd for us, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.